Alrighty, let's start off this gameplay montage with a nice, easy Maven witnessed Uber Elder. And it's just regular Uber Elder, it's not Uber Uber, but it serves as a good baseline proof of concept for the primary salient points of the build. Now, first and kind of foremost, the immunity to elemental damage over time there. You see, we're standing in multiple overlapping shaper beams, and our life bar just doesn't even flicker. And then also the crisscrossing shaper balls, they come in pretty quickly. Those hits are not that far apart, maybe, I don't know, 100 milliseconds between each one, but that's more than enough time to pop back to full health between each ball, since we are recovering our entire life bar about 9 times over every single server tick. So, since one ball can't physically one-shot us, the next ball in line is completely irrelevant, and so yeah, we can just totally disrespect the entire attack. And, really, since nothing in this fight can one-shot us, we can basically disrespect everything in this fight. And granted, this is not the hardest fight in the world. I mean, this fight is, what, how many years old at this point? But again, it is a proof of concept here. So we can see that the basic mechanics all function correctly. Though, it's worth mentioning, one category of mechanics that we cannot disrespect at all are recovery disabling mechanics. Since this is first and foremost a recovery based build, recovery is our primary defensive layer. Anything that shuts off healing is a just hard counter to the whole build. And that is the one big great weakness that the build does suffer. So things like Maven's brain laser, or especially her finger lasers in Uber Maven, that's just death. Standing in Sirius's pools, that's just a recipe for disaster. We can stand in Sirius's atomization storms all day long, and our life bar will never flicker. But yeah, standing in one of his pools on the ground, that's gonna be a bad time. Likewise, standing on Searing Exarch's brands on the floor, that is similarly a recipe for a bad time. In fact, when I'm doing Cirrus or Exarch, I tend to actually turn off a lot of my MTX just so I can actually see the floor and make sure I'm not standing in lava. Uh, Also worth mentioning, we're not using it on this character, so we are getting chilled by the Shaper pools here, even though they're not doing damage to us. But because we're immune to elemental damage over time, that does mean we could be using Annihilation's approach. I've used it on previous iterations of this build. Works really well. The only caveat is you need to click off your boots before your leeches run out, or your health will start dropping very rapidly, since the immunity to the damage over time is dependent on leeching health. So there we go. Nice, easy peasy Shaper and Elder combo to start us off. And of course, he dropped nothing, as is tradition. Alright, and next is just a nice little fully charged up Verizium deposit. There's even a rare in here that has the health can't be recovered above 50% mod. So for a little while, it looks like we're in trouble there at the beginning, but we're really not. And our health bar is having a little bit of a seizure here as we're getting machine gunned left and right by everything. But we're just standing right in the middle of it and just taking it in stride. And as soon as that one rare evaporates, our health blips back to full almost immediately. And then it's just pretty procedural as we work down the last couple of mobs in the section. Okay, and now here we are in the middle of a T-17 Ziggurat map. Just running around killing everything for the moment. We've got Einhar in tow. And of course, this iteration of the build is an ethical melee strike build, so obviously it is not blowing up screens at a time. The kill zone on the skill, even with like +1 or maybe +2 targets and Tribal Fury, is just not that huge. But to me, that's okay. This was always made as more of a boss killer than a mapper. So, for you zoom, zoom, boom, boom addicts, this might be slow for you. And at this point in the build, yeah, we're doing about 6 million Shaper DPS. So, we're killing stuff, at an okay pace, but, not the apocalyptic DPS of an actual damage centric build. But you see, we're standing around in rituals and stuff here in T-17, and we're just not blinking. There's also a bismuth tornado floating overhead. It doesn't bother us. So, the tornado can do whatever it wants. And yeah, we're just going to basically stand in place for the most part and pretty much just hold right mouse to win. As long as stuff keeps coming to us, there's no reason to have to run around. And that is, one of the strong points of the build. Being able to just hold right mouse to win and turn your brain off and go do something else while you wait for the mob to die. So, easy peasy there on the ritual. Actually, not a lot spawned on that ritual, so it was not really a big deal. Alrighty. Jumping ahead a little bit. Just still clearing our way through the map. Again, right mouse button is being held. Brain is turned off. Total grug mode as we just walk through this and don't care about anything that's happening on screen, which is good because I don't know, I got so much stuff going on that I can't even tell what's going on half the time. So it's probably better that we don't have to be able to understand what's on the screen. So again, the bismuth tornadoes just don't do anything to us. Oh, I got some possessed rogue exiles. Yeah, they don't matter. Spawn the next ritual. Still just holding right mouse to win. Nothing new there. Whole bunch of stuff being shot at us. Our life bar's not even flickering most of the time. Just doesn't matter. Come on, guys. Katarina's not gonna resurrect you if you don't try a little harder than this. You gotta earn your stay a little bit. You gotta do good work for Goth Mommy. Otherwise, she's not gonna step on you. And speaking of Goth Mommy, there she is. And you'll see once again just face tanking like it's nothing. And it's worth noting, actually, the previous iteration of this build from the league before could face tank this fight just as easily. And that was before the T-17 bosses got nerfed pretty hard. So, this is Katarina after she had her legs broken. But the rapid fire mortar attack is the one that's really worth kind of paying attention to, because that one's actually kind of dangerous. Those mortars come out really quickly, but they're hitting on separate frames, so we're healing to full between them, so they can't kill us. The only thing that can be a little sketchy on this fight is some of the transitions to the ad phases, where there can be just enough downtime to run into a problem. And as long as I'm actually paying attention, it's no big deal. And as long as a boss is, or one of the mini boss ads is actually on screen and hittable, then the fight's trivial. It's just a matter of dealing with those transition phases. But, as with everything up to now, we're holding the right mouse button, we're standing there, I don't know, probably, thinking about anything besides the boss, and just waiting for the loot to eventually show up, because there's really not much in the boss toolkit that matters. You'll notice also, once again, the bismuth tornado just hovering on top of us, doing nothing. Our life bar is not flickering, and we only have life in the mid 3000s. So it's not like we have a huge life pool by any stretch. Actually, a pretty mediocre life pool. And all damage bypasses energy shield, so our ES does not matter. But the fight mechanics also don't matter, so it's kind of whatever. Just gotta wait for this idiot to stop teleporting around and spawning all these little plague babies or whatever they are on us. While this is going on, I just want to mention I did a version of this on Freesia League as a scavenger, which was a lot of fun because scavenger also gets Fulcrum and Winterweave as ascendancy skills, as well as Tainted Pact itself. So being able to self-poison and self-chill and self-ignite and self-shock was really funny. And yeah, it was good fun. It was very fast. The actual damage on it was not amazing, but it looked cool, and it was fun to play. So, if Scavenger ever gets added to the main game, I would totally play that again. Or maybe if I ever join a big private league or something, I don't know. It's usually not my shtick. But anyway, yeah, come on, Katarina, you've had enough invincibility phases already. You wanna give up the ghost, or you wanna spawn more liches? Yeah, I sent that lich a phylactery. Liches love phylacteries. Other thing worth kind of noting here, I do actually have a retaliation skill equipped, and I don't bother using it most of the time. Because that would require pushing a second button. And we're all about the ethical one-button gameplay here, as the last lich is slowly waiting to die. Yeah, actually, on this VOD clip, you can see I'm just holding right mouse and I'm like eating some Cheetos or something with my other hand, just like completely disrespecting the fight. Yeah, or some pretzels or something, just munching away. Enjoying some carbs while holding that right mouse button. And there we go. Katarina gets super cold, and look at that. She dropped absolutely nothing, as is tradition. All right, and here we go with an Uber Exarch, which is my own favorite Uber to farm. So we'll pop into this, and yeah, as we mentioned before, healing disabling mechanics like the brands that he puts on the floor, we do need to respect those because those will basically hard counter our build. But other than that, we can face tank absolutely everything in the fight, with the exception of Incinerate. That will kill us. But that move is also completely trivial to run away from. So it's not a big deal. And yeah, you'll notice, as I mentioned before, I have turned off a lot of my microtransactions so that I can actually see the floor. Yeah, those mortars do absolutely nothing to us. Because again, they hit on separate frames. So, because it's not an honest to God one shot, it doesn't matter. You can watch our health bar kind of flicker there. And, we're healing back to full between each of those mortar hits. And, funny thing is, the ad being here actually makes this easier. Because we have something to hit and poison and leech off of, the ad is actually good for us. So we can just stand here, face tanking the Minotaur, face tanking the meteors, not even attempting to do mechanics, and just wait for Exarch himself to show up, and yeah, we can tank both of them at the same time. It doesn't matter. Though we do need to be mindful of the floor, which is getting close to us there, as well as an Incinerate. And the one thing that can get a little bit goofy is sometimes he just loves to hover out on top of the Searing Brands where I can't safely get within range of him. And then I have to actually keep my head in the game. But as long as that's not the case, then there's just nothing to worry about. We'll just stand here right where all the meteors spawn. It doesn't matter. Our health bar doesn't, barely even blinks while getting smacked by 4 simultaneous meteors. While also tanking the ad. Now, it's worth noting we are using a Tides of Time, which has 25% increased flask effect and a Taste of Hate. So we are converting a lot of fire damage to cold damage. I want to say like 30 something percent. And like 37% or something. And on top of the 50% of fire damage that we are converting to chaos via a Vol Historic Jewel of Zibaqua. So we are, very good at dealing with elemental hits just across the board. Our max physical hit taken by comparison is not that amazing. If we stacked more armor or generic PDR or something like that, we could shore that up. But, it takes a pretty big elemental hit, like Incineration there, to actually threaten us. You'll see we were standing on the brand there for a moment, and it almost got us. But once again, just tanking these meteors and the Minotaur, not caring. Only half paying attention to the game right now. Exarch should be popping back in here. Yay, we can hit them both at the same time. Yeah, and Idiot Minotaur gets cold. Exarch isn't that far behind him. And we only have 30-something thousand armor on this character. But with all the layered defenses and the effectively infinite recovery, it works. Yeah, there are a few other Uber boss attacks that we have to be a little bit more respectful of, but this guy is not one of them. And of course, all he dropped was the staff and an orb. Because why would anything nice happen? So that is basically how this plays. It's a very ethical build because it's a melee strike build, and because we are doing unto ourselves as we would do unto others, it is also a very moral build. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in 3.26.